Hey everybody, Dustin DePurak here at the wondrous Madison Square Garden. As you know, anytime that I am sort of forced to fly solo on this, I can't because I get bored. And therefore, whoever happens to be here gets to be a special guest star. In that case, that was the great Michael Fellish. He works for Ryu Sport Company. What is your title officially, Mike?
My official title is senior sports reporter, so sounds pretty nice.
Okay, yeah, it does. It sounds big time professional. Anyway, so he's here. He made the trip up to New York, to cover this thing, to cover the 2K Sports Classic. So he happened to be sitting here shooting stuff. So he gets to do Scoop Talk today.
It's an honor. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
It's not that much of an honor, really. You would not believe the people we've dragged on this thing. Osterman's made like 30 appearances. I mean, seriously.
Okay.
Anyway, Indiana wins 102 to 84. What I thought was a really just impressive performance. I mean, they still haven't played a big time team yet, and they're going to tomorrow night in Connecticut. They certainly, they won in a squeaker tonight over Boston College. But you can tell there's a lot of talent there, and the sort of talent that Indiana hasn't necessarily seen. Shabazz Napier, Ryan Boatwright, and whatnot. We'll talk about those guys a little bit later. But Indiana with a pretty, they were dominant on the glass, owned that 50 to 29. They won the boards. Also, shot it really well. Finished 51.5% from the field, 62.1%. The second half really moved it well, especially just after early. They kind of struggled a little bit. But, to me, I thought, you've seen a bunch of these games. I think you've seen all of them so far.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was another kind of good step in their maturation process. It looked like they came a lot further tonight, looked a lot more cohesive, and certainly, again, looked like they physically outmatched a really more experienced Washington team.
I think definitely it's the best overall showing from start to finish for Indiana. That's definitely the case tonight. Obviously, being away from Assembly Hall, from the Conference Assembly Hall, I think they were even surprised themselves. I mean, Will Shee said, I was quite surprised at kind of how we came out. They had those 6 straight points at the beginning.
9-0 were on the beginning of it. I think it was 7-0 before a timeout.
Mm-hmm. And so I think, the fast start definitely helps, absolutely. But I think they were kind of expecting a little less. I mean, they have the LIU Brooklyn game where it's pretty close and pretty scary. And then, they're able to get the job done the next game. But I think overall they were pretty impressed in how they were done and how they performed today. And Crean was asked, "How do you rate this team?"
And he never answers that question.
Never will. But he did say that he did see like positive signs. So I'm as a reporter, as a fan, I'm encouraged. Definitely want to see a big win like this before you go into a game tomorrow against UConn. So it was a solid overall performance from start to finish.
Yeah, it seems like they're learning a lot from lessons and learning it quickly. I mean, you obviously there was still some messiness tonight. Obviously, there was 13 turnovers, which isn't a bad number, but it just seemed like the ones that they had just looked particularly bad. Either and some that weren't even necessarily turnovers, but just not great shots, or there was just a couple just periods in the first half where they kind of hit a lull and just started to make decisions that just didn't make any sense. But they seemed like they learned from those quickly, and they kind of got back on the horse with it quickly. And at least are really paying attention to game plan, from what I can tell. And I think you got some idea of this just being around Tom in the huddle.
Yeah.
It seems like what he's asked him to do in terms of body movement, in terms of guys moving around, guys cutting, just making sure that there's a lot of body movement, a lot of that they create a lot of space and put themselves in position where they can make plays in space and obviously drive the basketball, go at people, try to get fouls, try to get to the foul line. Seems like, everything he's asked them to do in that regard, they're pretty much executing. And for a young team, for a team that has not been around for this, they're basically listening to what's being taught and learning very quickly.
Mm-hmm. The first thing Tom Crean said that I could hear, I was literally right by underneath the basket, right by the bench. He was saying how Washington, they were following the ball and not the players. He was really trying to stress really cuts movement without the ball. And I think Indiana was able to do that. And then the next thing he said, there was that big almost dunk by Troy Williams. The place would have gone nuts. I mean,
he almost jumped over. I think it was Paris Blackwell. And Paris Blackwell is not a small man at all. He's 6'9", 275. That's a very, very large individual to try to clear. And he came close. He was very close to doing it. It was probably not the most responsible decision, but he got to the foul line. He went up and he wasn't that far off. It was pretty much it was actually an impossible dunk. There is no way to clear a human that large without tipping a little bit before you get there. And Blackwell was a little bit too far out from the hoop for Williams to be able to tilt and kind of bend and still make the bucket. But it would have been pretty ridiculous.
And with the crowd here today, there's a lot of Indiana fans Place would have gone nuts.
They would've
Almost,
lost
almost
it.
like Assembly Hall East today.
Yeah, it was.
Which
There
is
was.
definitely a huge advantage for Indiana.
Yeah, you forget how many New York kids went to Indiana.
Yeah.
Lots of them.
But there was a simple layup I remember in the first half. I think it was Yogi driving, and obviously Yogi doesn't dunk, but a guy like Jeremy Hollowell driving with a soft layup. You had Coach Crean. He went straight to Troy Williams. He said, "Next series, I want you to make a definitive dunk."
Yeah,
And I think
Wow.
that was honestly that.
interesting.
It's and I tweeted out. And don't have too many followers, so I don't think it got retweeted.
Follow Michael Fellish, M.A.
Thanks.
Fellish.
M.A. Fellish. But the interesting thing from that is, like, yes, you want a big dunk, but I think, in the team's first experience on national television, as far as ESPN, make a statement. I think he really wanted to do that. Noah Vonleh was able to do that a couple times. Troy Williams was able to do that, try to do that.
Collectively, big time. 22 points, 8 rebounds.
And, of course, Vonleh was 1 rebound short of his 5th consecutive double-double. Don't
To
have
start
the
his career.
stat off the top of my head, but I don't know the last time 5 double-doubles would have happened to start off a career.
Yeah, I have no idea either. I think Beasley, they somebody put it out that in 07, 08 he had 4 to start, and he was, though Vonleh was very, very close to 5.
Yeah.
Obviously, 1 rebound away. I mean, 1 never really came his way. It's just all that happened, basically. He got back in there a couple times, and he just wasn't, at no point in time did the ball find him, and it seems like it just constantly has. But both Williams and Vonleh, I mean, really, I thought both had big-time statement performances. Vonleh obviously was a guy that people knew, but, this was really for his first chance. I mean, Tom Crean was asked, why don't you think that Noah's getting the same kind of publicity? Not as many people are talking about him as Julius Randle and Andrew Wiggins and Jabari Parker. Well, there's 2 reasons. One, he wasn't ranked as high just coming out. I mean, he was number 8, and those guys were, top 3, top 4. The bigger thing is they've had a big time showcase for them. I mean, they basically, the biggest difference right now is they played in the Champions Classic with 4 top 6 teams, and Noah Vonleh did not. Basically, I mean, I don't know that this is the first time they've been on ESPN, as far as I know, and basically in a game that anybody wanted to see them play, a team anybody wanted to see them play, and this was sort of not the statement game. I mean, you want to beat somebody bigger. Vonleh obviously has the opportunity to do that against Connecticut to a much greater degree tomorrow night. It's not the same against doing it against Duke or Kansas or Michigan State like those other guys did. But this was sort of his first kind of foray into, hey, here's who I am, by the way, in case you were thinking that I was just doing this against a bunch of small people from low majors. And Troy Williams, I mean, I was sitting next to the Seattle Times reporter Percy. I don't know what his last name is, but he just looked at me and he was like, did I not know? Did I miss something about this Troy Williams character? Where was somebody talking about this? And he just went over my head because this dude's crazy. And he was tonight. And you saw Troy Williams really play a complete game. Also showed he could shoot it, which was a big thing. I mean, he's been okay at that. That's not something you haven't necessarily seen a lot of. He hit 2 longer jumpers and just played, again, a really complete game. The athleticism continues to be crazy. He's defending really well, just getting his hands on passes and whatnot, rebounding really well, 8 rebounds, but played a really good offensive game, 8 for 12 tonight. It looks like, I mean, you're really kind of starting to see him make a leap already.
And I think when you talk about athleticism, what you get from that is, I think in his first game, he was able to show these ridiculous layups that he's capable of doing, especially along the baseline, working
His
through
baseline
traffic.
drive is just crazy. Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, there's a discussion about how we don't have too many shooters. You look forward to next year with all the shooters coming in next year's class. But to be able to have a guy like Williams create offense like that, to be able to have a point guard like Yogi Ferrell.
Ferrell really got to the rim a lot tonight and shot it well, continues to.
And who can command an offense like this. And then you look at different guys bringing the ball up. You got Gordon, you have Jeremy Hollowell. So you have a lot
Stan
of
Robinson
options.
had some nice little minutes today. Didn't play a lot, but was okay when he did.
Yeah, and he was effective. And I think the good thing from this game, and I think just from this Indiana team, is the defense. They don't just get one single look every time. It's different looks from different guys taking up the ball. And I think if they're able to execute that well, which tonight they did, that can really help them in the future.
It could move along a lot further than again, like that a lot of people thought. I mean, they were 3 for 13 from 3 tonight, so that's still not part of their game necessarily. I mean, this is not going to be last year's team, as we've made this point a thousand times on here. There is no Jordan Hulls or Christian Watford here. There's not going to be a guy that's going to shoot 45% from 3, but it looks like there are going to be more guys that you think that can beat you from 18 feet, or 16 feet or 15 feet or whatever. Williams, apparently that's going to be part of his arsenal. I mean, he's not going to be a guy that you want taking 10 threes a game, but you do want the ball in his hands a little bit outside. Yogi Ferrell certainly is becoming reliable there. Will Sheehy can hit you a couple a game. Jeremy Hollowell didn't play well really at all tonight. Was 3 for 10, just didn't look particularly good. Had 4 turnovers to no assists. But he's capable. You've seen him do it. And it seems like you're starting to get more guys that feel at least somewhat comfortable in that regard. So it's not entirely not a part of their game. It's something that they have and that they can work on.
I think one of the things, Yogi, he showed his first game just coming out as far as his threes. In the first game, just showing all the work he had in the offseason as far as shooting from behind the arc. But I think tonight, you tweeted it, and I'm trying to remember the top of my head here. 54 points off a fast break. 31 from the free throw line.
54 in the paint. 31 in the free throw line.
31 in the free throw line. So and just kind of showed like where Indiana picks their. Picks where they're going to attack, and I think they stuck to the game plan.
They continue to do really good at getting the line. They were 31 for 36. They're getting better at making them. Noah Vonleh was 4 for 6 tonight. That's the guy you're always going to look to because he can have one of those when he can't hit it, but he's getting a little bit more comfortable as they go along, and the rest of the guys have been really good. 31 for 36 as a team. What Tom Crean always says, you want to score more, you want to make more free throws than your opponent attempts. They made 31. Washington took 28. Again, a big advantage, especially when you're going to have these hand check rules. Washington's a team that really only goes 7 to 8 deep usually. Put those guys in a lot of foul trouble, and they had to really dig a lot deeper on their bench than they wanted to and change the game a lot. So anyway, got to cut it off there. But thanks everybody. We'll be back here again tomorrow night. Thanks, Michael Fellish.
Thank you.